वैश्विक संकट के इस समय में हमें कर्तव्यों को सर्वोपरि रखते हुए कुछ संकल्प लेने होंगे और उन संकल्पों को पूरे समर्पण भाव से पूरा करना होगा। जैसे एक बड़ा संकल्प है पेट्रोल डीजल का संयम से इस्तेमाल करना। साथियों, हमें पेट्रोल डीजल का उपयोग कम करना होगा।
A latest speech by the Indian Prime Minister triggered panic, and one question is in everyone's mind. Is India heading towards an energy lockdown? In his speech in Hyderabad, Prime Minister Narendra Modi effectively asked Indians to prepare for an economic emergency triggered by the escalating West Asia conflict and the global energy shock that has followed. Modi appealed to the citizens of India to voluntarily adopt what many are calling lockdown like economic restraint measures. Not because of a pandemic, but this time it's because India's import bill, foreign exchange reserves, and energy security are coming under pressure. The Prime Minister's central argument was very simple. India is one of the world's biggest importers of crude oil and gold, and when global conflict pushes up oil prices or weakens supply chains, India bleeds forex or foreign exchange. Modi warned that the country needs to conserve dollars and reduce non essential imports until the geopolitical situation stabilizes. That is why he made an unusually detailed set of public appeals. First, he asked companies to revive work from home wherever possible and that fuel consumption should fall. He urged people to reduce petrol and diesel usage, use public transport more often, adopt carpooling, and shift towards electric vehicles. He specifically encouraged greater use of metro rail systems and even suggested that freight movement should increasingly shift towards railways because rail transport consumes significantly less fuel compared to road logistics. Second, he requested Indians to avoid unnecessary foreign holidays and destination weddings abroad for at least a year and instead spend within India through domestic tourism. Third, he asked Indians to avoid buying non essential gold for 1 year. Fourth, he pushed for greater consumption of made in India products and linked personal economic choices directly to national economic resilience. Fifth, he said reducing edible oil consumption by 50% would not only improve public health but also reduce the dependence on imported edible oils. Sixth, farmers were asked to reduce chemical fertilizer use and adopt solar powered pumps wherever it is possible. Oil and fertilizers are understandable, but why gold? Because India's dependence on imported gold is enormous. India is among the largest gold consuming countries in the world, but domestic production is tiny, meaning almost all that demand is met through imports paid in dollars, increasing the pressure on forex reserves. Recent reports indicate that India's forex reserves have already fallen by nearly $7.8 billion to around $690.7 billion amid the current global geopolitical tensions. Reuters recently reported that India normally imports roughly 60 tons of gold every month, with import values frequently reaching $6 billion monthly during high demand periods. Even after recent disruptions, April 2026 gold imports were still valued approximately at $1.3 billion despite dropping to nearly 30-year lows. So when crude oil prices rise simultaneously with heavy gold imports, India faces a double foreign exchange drain. That combination weakens the rupee and raises fears of imported inflation. The rupee has already weakened sharply during the current Gulf crisis, falling about 95 versus the dollar, while the IMF says that the burden of rising energy prices could no longer be absorbed indefinitely by the government and oil companies alone. So the prices may rise anytime soon for oil as well. Why? Because according to reports, state-owned oil marketing companies are currently absorbing losses of roughly 1,600 to 1,700 crore rupees every single day in order to shield Indian consumers from a full impact of global oil spikes. The scale becomes staggering when you extend the timeline. In just 10 weeks, these under recoveries have crossed 1 lakh crore rupees. So the government's strategy is politically understandable. A sudden spike in petrol and diesel prices immediately impacts everything from transport costs, food inflation, aviation fuel, logistics, and manufacturing, and even your wallet. Higher fuel prices eventually make almost everything more expensive. So instead of passing on the full burden to the consumers immediately, state owned firms are taking that hit. But for how long? IMF says it is unsustainable. So the government appears to be trying to reduce the demand pressure before the situation worsens further. If millions of people reduce commuting through work from home strategies, use less petrol, postpone foreign travel, and slow down gold purchases, India's import bill could reduce meaningfully over the next few months. Because India imports nearly 85% of its crude requirement, and the closure of Strait of Hormuz, even as Indian ships seem to have sailed through this crisis, has affected India harder than the other countries because the prices are high and the shipping costs have surged dramatically. But remember, India is not alone. Most of the countries have taken steps to reduce fuel consumption as the West Asia war has disrupted the supply. From work from home policies to alternate day vehicle restrictions, most countries in Asia, including Indonesia, Vietnam, Myanmar, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, have their ways to manage the crisis at home. Meanwhile, after Prime Minister Modi's appeal, jewelry and travel stocks saw a decline of up to 10%. Now, this is not solely because of that speech. This also came as the conflict escalated when Trump rejected Iran's peace plan yesterday. Now, back to the question. Is India facing an energy lockdown? The answer is no. Officially, there is no messaging about a strict lockdown or formal restrictions. Modi's speech is an appeal to the Indian people for their cooperation to help the government avert a bigger energy crisis in the country in the future. Because the situation is neither good for the economy nor for the people. India's economy has been more stable when compared to the other countries, with real GDP growth estimated at 7.2% in Q4 of FY26 as per a report by SBI Research, and for FY27 it is projected at 6.6%. But an energy crisis can worsen this. So the message is clear. Prepare ahead for a prolonged period of economic uncertainty so the crisis does not hit hard later.